Hello, so today I wanted to share with you everything that I've made / tried to make in the year 2023. Now I know that this isn't technically a full year because I only started knitting basically in August, but I thought I would kind of do this now so then I can do a full year and start fresh next year, because I'm planning to of course make some more things. So the first one I don't have with me, but I don't know if you would count it, but I made like a little square thing when I did my video where I tried to knit for the first time. It's like this yellow thing and it's a square, and I basically just that was kind of like my practice square basically. So then after that I moved on to try to make a scarf. This is the scarf / cowl that I tried to make. It's a little big. I didn't measure it. I didn't use any patterns with this. I just sort of I bought some yarn, some really thick yarn, and I bought some wooden knitting needles, and I just tried to make a long rectangle. So this one I used a pretty chunky kind of yarn. I didn't use wool because I heard that if you want to make something for the first time, it's best not to use wool because wool is a little slightly harder to manipulate and stuff, because the fibers can kind of go everywhere. So this is part acrylic, part viscose. I don't remember the percentage, but I found this and I got it in 12mm because the first one that I tried was an 8mm. The yellow square that I tried was an 8mm, and I wanted to try something a little bit chunkier and a little bigger. So I used 12mm knitting needles, and I think I only used 2 balls of yarn. I can't remember how many grams. I think it was either 100 or 150. So I only used 2, which was my mistake because it wasn't long enough to be a full scarf. I think it only went down to like the bottom of my ribs. And then when I tried to make it into a cowl, obviously you can tell it's a little bit too wide. So yeah, I'm actually thinking of undoing everything, unraveling this and making it into a toy, because I figured if it's acrylic it might be really nice if it was like some sort of stuffed animal. So yeah, I don't know, I'll see how I feel, because I really like the color, and I just feel like it would be a waste if I just sort of like not do anything more with this, because I would never like wear this as a scarf now because it's not really a scarf. So then the next thing that I tried to make, I don't have with me because I actually gave it as a Christmas gift for my brother. So that was the Big Up beanie by Wool and the Gang. It's supposed to be this really chunky beanie. I think I used I bought the kit from them because it was kind of like my first time trying to follow a pattern, because this one is obviously I didn't use any patterns. So I bought the Big Up beanie kit from Wool and the Gang, and they gave me 1 200-gram skein of their Crazy Sexy wool, which is like this really chunky wool, and then they gave me 15mm wooden knitting needles, which were a lot bigger than the 12 that I used, and they gave me the pattern and a tapestry needle as well. So that was my first time following a pattern. Again, I did a video of it. I will leave the link to it somewhere down below or on the screen. And that was my first time working with wool, like 100% wool, and it was definitely a challenge. I think I've gotten better with working with wool. I think I actually kind of enjoy it. The other thing that I noticed is I prefer working with, in the beginning I didn't like that the 15mm needles were so chunky. It like hurt my hand, but after like working on it heaps, I think I prefer working with bigger needles than smaller ones, mostly because it's easier for me to see my work with bigger yarn and bigger needles. So yeah, so that one, I think I made it slightly big. I don't know if I like miscalculated the rows or whatever, but I think I made it too big. But what I did was I just put it in the wash, and I made it kind of shrink a little bit, and it fits perfectly. I was really worried because it got really like hard and like it wasn't soft anymore, but after I left it for a couple of weeks, it kind of started coming, like the pattern kind of started coming back, and it was a lot softer again. So yeah, it fits my brother. I was really worried that it was going to still be really big, but yeah, it was a perfect fit, so that was really lucky. The third thing that I made is a bit of a mistake, which it didn't start out as a mistake. It was, the mistake started when I tried to manipulate it a little bit. So this is the beanie, the third beanie that I tried to make. So this this is originally the beanie that I was going to give to my brother, because I specifically chose this color for him because I wanted it to match the next beanie that I'll talk about, which was for his wife. But the thing with this beanie is it's not a complete loss, I guess, but it's just not what I wanted. So I ordered, what I did was I ordered a different pattern from Wool and the Gang. I ordered their, oh man, what is it called? It's a different different type of beanie. It's like all, it's instead of it being just ribbed on the edge and then like a stockinette stitching on the head part, it was all ribbed all around. So I ordered that to make a bunch of beanies. So I ordered the pattern, and then I ordered the suggested wool for that pattern, and so obviously I just ordered one of the kit, and then I ordered some extra balls of yarn, and in different colors depending on what I wanted to make for people, basically. So this isn't the Crazy Sexy wool that I made for the Big Up beanie. This is the different kind of wool, and I don't know if that's where I went wrong, because I looked at the suggestion for the size of knitting needle, and both the Crazy Sexy wool and this particular wool said that it suggested 12 to 15. So I thought this would be okay for me to make. Basically what I did was I used the yarn that was supposed to be for the second pattern that I ordered, but I made the Big Up beanie with it. And I don't know if that's where I went wrong. The other thing that I changed was, which is I think is more where I went wrong, but the other thing that I changed was, because I thought that the first Big Up beanie that I made was a little bit too big and I miscalculated, I got a tape measure and I measured, instead of counting the rows. I did count rows, but I also measured at the same time, and I didn't want to make this one too big, so I just measured I think it said like up until you get like 30 centimeters or something. So I counted, I mean I measured and I got up to 30 centimeters, but I was like a couple of rows less than what the pattern said. But I thought it was okay because they said approximately 30 centimeters or something like that. And so I did that and everything was fine, and I even managed to do some invisible seaming in the back, which is really nice. Like I learned how to do that. But then, so I finished that and it was all great, and then I put the beanie on and it was still very big. Now, like I mentioned with the first Big Up beanie, it's very, very big, and I don't know if I miscalculated, but what I did was I put it in the wash and shrunk it. So I thought, oh, I'll do the same with this one. But first of all, for some reason, the first beanie, the black one, I don't remember if it got really like if it got felted in the wash, but I don't remember it being this like compact, and it's a lot softer than this one for whatever reason. Now I haven't touched this since I washed it, but it just hasn't gone back to that soft kind of feeling. I don't know if it's like it's a different type of wool. And also the other thing, which I wouldn't have minded, but the other thing is that I got Andrew to try it on because I know that, you know, my head's not the same size as my brother's, so I got Andrew to try it on and he said it was like really, really tight. So yeah, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know if I can like rip it out because it's a little bit like, you know, they say that once it gets kind of felted you can't really take it back basically. The next beanie that I made for another Christmas present that I made for my sister-in-law, and that is the one where I followed the pattern for the actual new kit that I bought. So it's all rib stitch on 12 millimeter needles. Oh, by the way, this one was on 15 millimeter, and I actually really like doing rib stitches. For some reason in the beginning I thought that it would be harder, but I think because it's less rows, I mean not less rows, less stitches on each row than like the Big Up beanie, I got through it a lot quicker, which is really strange. But yeah, I made that one and that one came out perfectly, so I was really, really happy with that. And then I had some extra yarn from that ball of yarn that I used, and I thought it would be a really good idea to make a little baby beanie, but for my nephew. But the issue is that I was just kind of like guessing the measurements. I was trying to look everywhere online to see if I could find a particular baby pattern that would kind of like tell me how many stitches in a row to do. But a lot of the patterns that I found were specific to the yarn and needle measurements that you use. So it would be like, oh, you cast on 62 stitches, but 62 stitches was specifically for if you have 4 millimeter needles and yarn. So I couldn't find any pattern where they can just sort of like approximate how wide like the measurements are, so I could like measure it myself depending on how big my my yarn was, because the yarn that I had left over was a approximately 10 to 15 millimeter wool, and also the needles that I wanted to use was the 12 millimeter one. So yeah, it was really hard. So what I did was I kind of tried to measure it out myself, So I did 10 rows less than my sister-in-law's beanie in terms of casting on and like the width. And then for the height, I did probably around about 10 to 13 rows less than the bigger beanie that I made for my sister-in-law, and it's ended up too small. So yeah, that was my mistake, but that's fine. Let me tell you about the last project that I made. So I tried to make a toy. I was very ambitious, and I was like, this is my nephew's first Christmas, and I was like, I want to make him a stuffed animal. Now, I was looking everywhere as to what would be like a really good first knitting project for a stuffed animal, and a lot of people suggested this one. It's a pattern by Gina Michelle called the One Square Bunny. It looked really simple on her blog post. It was just you make a square however big, however small you want. It just has to be a square, and then you basically thread a yarn to make a triangle, and then you pull it and then you stuff it with toy stuffing, and it will become a bunny. So I thought, oh yeah, that sounds easy enough. I'll just do garter stitch, I'll make a square, it'll be good. Well, I had the most issue with this, mostly because I think I was being over ambitious, in that I was trying to make it as big as I could, to the point where I had to change needles so many times, because the regular needle that I had, which was I think I got a 6mm one, it's like the length of it I think is around about 30 centimeters, and I originally wanted to make I wanted to put on 70 stitches because I wanted the doll to be slightly bigger when it gets, you know, compressed, but then that didn't work. So then I started again, and I still using the 6mm. I started again, and I did I was like a quarter way through, and I had to redo everything because I kept making mistakes because my work was kind of like bunching up on the needle, and my needle was basically getting bent. So I went out and I bought a longer 6mm needle, which was like a 35 centimeter one, and I was like, oh, okay, well 70 is a little bit too much, so I'm gonna do 60. So then I did 60, and that was messing me up as well. It wasn't, I don't know what happened. I can't be bothered getting the work, but I don't know what happened, but there's like, I had to undo a couple of rows, and when I undid it, I don't know if it's the quality of the yarn that I used, but the thread kind of just like went everywhere, and it looks like I dropped a stitch, but I actually didn't. It's just like it's kind of like fuzzy, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but anyway, so that didn't work, and I was really frustrated and I was really stressed, and so I decided to go out and buy a different ball of yarn. And every time I bought a ball of yarn for this toy, I have to buy 2 colors, because I have to buy one for the body and one for the tail, and then I was just gonna use my leftover black yarn for the features, like the nose and the eyes and stuff. And so I went out and I bought a 9mm, and then I went to an op shop and I found some 9mm plastic knitting needles that I got for like $2, which was really good. But I realized from that project I don't like working with plastic needles, it's so annoying. Anyway, I started working on that, on the 9mm needle and the 9mm yarn, and I got almost, like, I got past halfway and I was so exhausted. I brought this project with me on our holiday trips and everything like that, and I just couldn't get it done for whatever reason. It just it was so, oh, the other thing that I did when I changed it to a 9mm is I decreased the number of stitches again. So it started from 70 and then I did 60 and then I ended up doing 50, which I still think is too much. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, so I did that, and then I couldn't get a perfect square for whatever reason. It kept ending up being a rectangle, and I felt like I was running out of time, so I just said, you know what, I'll just make this into a rabbit. It'll just be slightly deformed, but I'll make it into a rabbit. And the actual process of turning it into a rabbit was actually pretty easy. A bunny was actually pretty easy. It's just I think me trying to make a bigger square than what I was capable of, or what the needle was capable of, was kind of where it went wrong. So yeah, but I ended up making the bunny. I learned how to make a pom-pom for the tail, and I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but I should have made the tail bigger, but that was my first time making a pom-pom. So yeah, I ended up giving that to him, and yeah, I think he liked it. So those are the things that I tried to make this year. Next year I definitely want to make bigger projects. I definitely want to make I want to start making things like blankets and like jumpers and stuff, like things that I can actually wear. And then I also want to try to make like pillowcases. I don't know how to do that, but I just figured like something like this would be really like soft and comfy for like a pillowcase. So I want to make my own pillowcases. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me, and I'll see you next time.